What's up, everybody? How's it hanging? How's it happen? You guys know what it is. This is Kevin from the Chord Progression Podcast. The podcast Rolling Stone magazine describes as the one that initiates profound discussions with rock and metal artists, allowing fans to discover the creative workflow of their favorite musicians and understand the factors that make the band succeed or fall from fame. We are also sponsored by Dark Fusion Systems, the best your acoustic movie needs. Get $100 off your Typlically code TV pod at darkfusionsystems.com. Link to the podcast below. Let's go to our feature presentation. We got a brand new artist that you might not know about, but has been around for a couple of years that you should know about. We have Alexa, a.k.a. Sorry X, on the podcast today. We decided to give you the in-depth look of who she is, where her musical acumen comes from. We also show why being creative with your music and always having that creativity mindset is an important thing, what's going to be happening in the future, but a little fun tidbit about how people and how artists should react and should handle those negative comments you see online and make sure that they do not affect you long term. You guys ready for this one? Let's go! Yeah. Well, ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, listeners of the Chord Progression Podcast. You know me. I love to bring forward a bunch of new artists for you to go check out and get to know and get behind. Whether it's artists you absolutely should know but don't know yet, artists that I've been finding out about and I'm excited about to bring you, or artists that I just hear something, I'm like, I gotta bring this on, I gotta bring them on, let's make this happen, and this is where we're coming from today. This artist recently released a cover of Bring Me to Life by Evanescence with a great band called Woe Is Me featuring on there, and her sound is definitely hard rock, but always brings some sort of like a gothic aesthetic to her music, willing to blend hard rock, pop, alternative, really anything, just showing a large range in those vocals overall. So you definitely want to get to know her, and this is the perfect place to do it. So please welcome Alexa, a.k.a. Sorry X, to the podcast. So Alexa, welcome to the Chord Progression Podcast.
Awesome. Thank you so much for having me. I'm excited.
Oh, thanks for being on. How is everything going in your world? As of course, you know, we're into 2025 right now. As an artist trying to go for it and build up on who you are as a person, just how has life been going for you so far?
Yeah, honestly, I'm really, really excited for the opportunities that are coming this year. I feel like we kind of lined everything up so that 2025 would be like the big year for me. We've been kind of slowly getting everything together to organize, kind of focusing more on 2025. So I already have a cat crashing the interview here, but yeah, we're working on lots of like probably my biggest things yet to date. So big projects, possibly touring, stuff that I've been really wanting to do for years now. So I'm excited.
So thank you for not just saying, you know, big things coming like we hear from every local band or local artist. It's like, no. You're starting to go down a list of like, this is what we've been working on. This is what I've been going for. This is what's potentially coming in 2025 or what should be coming in 2025 at some point. So get ready because, nope, not going to say it because it seems like it's, you know, it's like a thing where it's like, if you say it, it's never going to happen. So I'm not going to say it again because no.
Nothing will make me not let this happen. So it's definitely going to happen. Something about me, yeah. I'm determined.
Focus, determination, and focus. The three main things. But I said focus twice. But focus is needed twice for that. Yeah.
I love it.
Well, Alexa, one thing I do always want to know about, especially any artist I bring on that I'm not sure about, especially for our audience, who really knows you or who really knows your whole entire story, especially when it comes to getting into music and getting to where you are today. I've been doing all the research I could, and I could not really find anything on the backstory of who you are and how you got into music. So let's hear the Sorry X origin story direct from the source. And I'm not talking like, oh, this happened and this happened and this happened. I don't need chronological. What I need is like the setup for the rest of your career, the setup for the Sorry X cinematic universe. Like you're trying to, you know, tell your story like it's the first Iron Man movie. So what is the history of Sorry X? How'd you get into music and how'd you get to where you are today?
Yeah, no, totally. I like to say, I kind of like think of myself as a superhero sometimes, you know, like I'm into that. So
nice. Then I definitely pulled that off right. Woo!
Yeah. So I need to work on my story pitch now. But I actually started writing anonymously mostly. I played bass guitar and I played a bunch of instruments. I play saxophone, fun fact. But I started posting anonymously on SoundCloud. My friend kind of showed me the SoundCloud underground scene world, I guess. So I started posting on there, and that's kind of how things started. I got a fan base from just, you know, recording myself actually in my own bedroom and living room. I was mixing myself. It was like a whole thing. And then slowly I kind of started working more and more with other producers and collaborating. And then Yeah, I've just been playing live and it's been growing. And then I met Shandan from my label that I just got signed to, SBG Records. So I'm super excited and I moved more into a rock world. So my live band, I'm a solo artist, but I work with a live band and they've been slowly incorporating more and more into like helping me bring this vision to life and bring it to as big as it can be. And we're always just anything we do, we want it to be as big as possible. So now we're ready to take on the rock world. I'm super excited and I have a really good team behind me. So
It's a good way to put it, and especially seeing how you started out as putting out recordings and just trying to do whatever you could just to experiment and see what kind of sound you want to make on SoundCloud, whether it was just singing, more the singer-songwriter style thing, whether it was covers, even playing saxophone as well or playing bass guitar. I mean, I've heard people that, especially on this podcast, have that musical acumen to them, and they play all these different instruments. I think I may have had one other person that said they also play the saxophone. So at almost 600 episodes, I mean, that's pretty rare company at this point.
yes, I know. Whenever people find that out, they get so excited. So I'm gonna potentially bring it to the live stage for sure.
That would be insane to see you just up there playing a saxophone, like a saxophone breakdown solo. Next thing you know, you go back into something heavy, something hard rock driving. I've heard other bands put that saxophone style in their music, but you don't hear it every now and again. You just hear it very sparingly. Mm-hmm. And it's something that every time you hear that sound, I mean, it's instinctual. It just gets you in one hell of a groove. So if you incorporate that into a song in the future, ooh, you might have something there.
Yeah, I love performing, and our live show is definitely a huge focus for us. And so I'm a big believer. I don't put limits on what I can do or what we can do, especially with rock. I think saxophone fits perfectly, and I'm always like, I just get really inspired. My manager actually got me into, well, not got me into, but he got me to see Limp Bizkit live and Korn live, and I love those bands. Growing up, I've always loved them. So shout out to my manager Gary, he's a sweetheart. But yeah, just super inspiring to see, the years they put into it, and Korn brings out the bagpipe, so.
I'll say now I'm trying to think because it's like Korn brings out the bagpipes at times. You've seen like other Irish rock bands bring out the bagpipes and other, Irish instruments like that, like the mandolin. I've seen Dropkick Murphys do stuff like that. Seen Flogging Molly do stuff like that. I know the band of Void, they brought the saxophone in one time. You've seen many bands bring in more of the programmatic style, even turntables, mixing stuff like that. Linkin Park, especially early on, is a great example of that. Ska brought in a whole bunch of like trumpets and trombones and that kind of genre. So there are so many other avenues and so many other, ideas to be creative that rock music can bring. There is really no limit on what you can put in there or what you want to do. Heck, even the hardcore band Speed has a flute in there. Like, you can do so much with this. So not putting any limits on it or not putting any like, we have to follow this path or we always have to follow this sound is something that is definitely going to send your creativity into a much further spectrum as you continue on throughout your musical career.
Totally. Yeah, I agree.
Yeah, and if it didn't, then where would the genre be at this point? It would be probably stuck back in the 50s. Just, we'd be getting Elvis for 75 straight years at this point. I don't think that could really work.
That is super valid. Yep, I agree.
Yeah, I mean, could you imagine Hound Dog in 2025 just over and over and over again? I think we would all go crazy at this point.
Yeah. No, I love that. And I really love that the industry is evolving. It always is. And that's something that sometimes I push maybe a little too much with the direction I want to go because I just get bored easily, I like to just do things that I want to do, and I'm pretty stubborn sometimes, but I still want to make sure my music connects with a larger audience, a broader audience. So, but yeah, I always try to do things that haven't been done before or just feel authentic to me, and I don't necessarily do it to appease people, I guess.
Well, let me ask you this, especially from your perspective, when you take a look at the biggest bands and artists, especially in the rock scene, the metal scene, either scene right now, or even throughout music in specific genres, are you seeing bands that have a very consistent, very similar sound are the ones that are dominating, the ones that are becoming the most well-known, or the ones that are consistently innovating and trying new things and creating new sounds or being the ones that are becoming the leaders in their respective genres?
No, I agree with you. Yeah, I feel like sometimes the risk is worth the reward, I guess they say. Like I've been told kind of to conform a little bit more than I personally would want when it comes to like my sound, and I feel like that's always been the wrong advice for me. So, yeah, no, I feel like taking those risks and having that unique sound, like that's what I love about Korn, for example, is
Mhm.
like there's no one like Jonathan Davis, and so and the whole band, obviously. But yeah, so that's definitely my approach as well.
Yeah, because I brought up this example plenty of times. I think it's, you take a look at where music is going today, especially on the heavier side of things. You've seen the emergence of especially 2022 Bad Omens with the Death of Peace of Mind. That was a shift from what they originally had done, and it absolutely was massive. Sleep Token in 2023, Knocked Loose in 2024. You're seeing Falling in Reverse do a lot of this stuff as well. Bring Me the Horizon is probably the prime example of a band that has consistently evolved and changed and always had that feeling of consistently trying to do what made them happy, what made them invigorated by music throughout their whole entire careers, and every step of the way it has proved positive. People still go back to Count Your Blessings and absolutely love it and want them to go heavier. People think Sempiternal is one of the best metalcore records of all time. People love what they're doing with Posthuman, and every time they come out with something, you know it's going to be good, but you never know what to expect. And
Exactly.
that's where you don't put limits on your music, and that's what happens, especially in today's day and age. No limits means the ultimate creativity. Ultimate creativity means authenticity for people to really dive deep into and get into, and that's what's thriving in the music world right now. When people, especially in rock and metal, when fans find that authenticity behind it and know that this is something that is real, they latch onto it. Whether it's the most serious thing and most artistic thing like Sleep Token, or whether it's goofy fun like Electric Callboy.
Yeah, no, and I love all of the bands you've shouted. Those are definitely, all of those bands are inspirations for me. They're obviously killing it in the scene. Bring Me the Horizon is, they've been around and they are crushing it, and I'm really proud of how much they've grown. It's kind of like not shocking, but it's just when you see their clips of their arena tours and stuff, it's really inspirational, and I love their new album. I'm a big fan of Sleep Token and Bad Omens, so yeah, I definitely take big inspiration from them.
And I'm glad you do. Again, it's something where you're seeing that authenticity is the key to what's making people drive to music. And it's what's going to make you the most happy in the end is going to be making music that's authentic to yourself. So it's, even though it's trendy, it is the right thing to be doing.
Yes, totally.
So I know you talked about, your manager took make sure you go see Limp Bizkit and Korn, and you spoke a little bit about, all listening to those bands when you were younger, but recently jumping into the rock scene. Was that something you always wanted to do with your music as before starting out on SoundCloud, or was this something that we know working with a live band that you started getting more into as time went on?
Yeah, great question. I've always loved rock music growing up. I loved emo music as well, and even like scene core type stuff. I was definitely a MySpace kid, I guess you could say. Um, and so that's always been the heart of what I've really, really loved. But I think this might help other artists too that are just getting started or trying to figure it out still. I didn't really know what sound was meant for me still. Like I was trying to explore that and figure that out. And I just started playing my acoustic guitar and singing by myself. So naturally I was kind of in the indie rock world, but that didn't feel right to me. Like I love indie rock music, but not for me. But when you're only a girl playing an acoustic guitar, like that's kind of what happens. So I was in a cover band actually, and we did a bunch of rock covers, and that kind of got me more familiar with just the history of rock and everything. So shout out, I think it's good to practice that way. But yeah, being on the live stage, I just realized that rock music is where it's at for me. I love performing and just the energy of rock music live, and that's what makes me happy. So I've kind of realized a little bit earlier on, I incorporate hip hop elements, but I think I kind of had the hip hop part first and then rock was second. And then probably in the past year or two, it's switched. So like rock and roll is that's at the forefront for me. And that's definitely a huge part of because of playing shows and like the live energy. I just want to translate that into my music now. So it's kind of a bigger influence for me. But that's always been my main influence, if that makes sense.
That does make sense, and it also speaks to what we just spoke about with kind of that authentic journey and being free and creative to evolve your sound with whatever you want. I understand especially what you said, when you start out with this stuff, acoustic guitar as a girl, it's like there's really only a couple avenues that you can go down that people will actually start to even try and pay attention. Because I'll be honest with you, if people saw, so like just one girl electric or like even acoustic guitar, but was playing something that was not like indie rock or pop or country,
Right.
people would probably be like, and this is just the way it is, I'm not sure about that. Just based on perceptions, is it right? No, but does it happen? Yeah, we have to be attuned to what is happening. However, you still had that influence of, the MySpace days, scene core, still loving all that stuff, and knew that sound still had a connection with you. So going out and being able to try it, because you had not only the background in your love for it, but also the experience in knowing how that sound at least hit you, especially in your ears, going up and playing it and actually performing it, you saw the visceral reaction and visceral response that you got from it and absolutely loved it. So that's how people discover where that sound comes from within them and discover where it goes forward and what they enjoy. Heck, even myself, even when I was like younger, I liked punk rock, but I never liked anything that had an unclean scream in it. I just could not get behind it, couldn't do it. All of a sudden, 2018 rolls around, I listen to Architects, Holy Hell, and that's how this whole entire thing ended up really starting with my love for heavy music, was that specific moment, because I finally understood it. All it takes is just discovering that sound for yourself, what you love, and it drives so much further, and you can build so much on it, whether you're just a music lover or a musician yourself. And I'm so glad you were able to not only do that, but are still able to continue to explore that through your sound and have the freedom within yourself to do it. Many artists will restrict themselves. Heck, there are times where management and labels will try and restrict yourself, but you have that acumen, you have that mentality of, let's try whatever works, and try whatever I want, because that's what's worked in the past. That's how I got to this point, and that's how we're going to get going further.
Yeah, no, exactly. And it's just really the live show and everything. I feel like as an artist, you kind of hit that moment where you just know what's right and you just feel it, So I've had so much fun, and my producer's a big part of that. His name is Shay Moore, and we just get to sit down, and he's really good at guitar, and I feel like he takes what I have in my brain, and he just knows exactly the sound I want. And I just when you find people that you work well with too, it just makes things so much easier. But we work really well together, and he's the one who's working on a bunch of my upcoming stuff. He worked on my cover of Bring Me to Life, my cover of Daisy as well. So we just click really well, and yeah, it's super heavy, but I'm excited. It's definitely got electronic elements too.
Heavy electronic elements, and you have a producer that just instinctively knows what you're doing and what you want to put out there. Before I continue on that, though, we have a cat on the interview right now, and I gotta call it out because there's a cat in the interview.
Say hi.
What's the cat's name?
Yes, this is Romy. Romeo, he wants to say hi.
What's up, Romeo?
Yeah.
I knew it was going to happen at some point, and I was like, yeah. I'm waiting for it. I have to call it out. So if you're listening on Spotify or Apple Podcasts, or you're hearing this on an internet radio station called Badass Radio, definitely go and check out the video on YouTube, because you'll miss out on a great cat if you don't go there.
Yes. Don't miss out.
Yeah, don't miss out. But what I was going to say was, when you have a producer that you have that synced up mindset, and they know exactly what you're thinking, what you want, it amplifies the music so much, because you can take an idea and create it and let it flow. You don't have to have all those roadblocks that come in there. On top of that as well, you have the freedom to try anything. Again, that is such a huge key, I think, of what this, not only this interview has been about, but also who you are as an artist, is the freedom to try anything musically, and showing that there are plenty of times in any kind of scene, whether it's local, regional, national, international, just worldwide, you're going to have people that want you to stay in a specific sound, want you to stay in a specific way, and don't want you to just go anywhere else with it. Maybe because they're scared of it, maybe because they just don't think you can do it, or they just enjoy you in a sound so much they just want to keep you in that. That's how fans work. That's how we all are as music fans at times. But as an artist, by constantly having that mindset of, let's keep trying new things, and having the people around you that are going to help foster that, it's incredibly important to where your music in 2025, with what's yet to be released for the rest of the year, has a lot of potential behind it, just knowing that fact.
Yeah, and I'm really big into trying things that you don't think would work right away, because sometimes they do work. And I just think it's fun, So that's really the goal. But it's been great having a team that I think collaboration is a big part of my spirit, and it's something I've always been open to the idea of collaborating. I'm always open to ideas, new ideas from anyone. I never shut down an idea. I may not always immediately understand someone else's idea, but I think we all offer really cool perspectives, and I think being open to that is always so important. So
Oh, it absolutely is, and it's going to just lead to greater and greater things as time goes on. Plus, who'd want to work with someone who is like, we have to do it this way and this way only, and that's it? Because you never know what might come up. You might have that one person that has this wacky, crazy idea that says, hey, let's put this in here, let's make this instrument this, and see what happens. If someone is so steadfast on something like being one specific way, you're never going to find out if it was a good idea or not, when it could have been the idea that transcends the music industry going forward.
yeah, no, and there are people like that, so I definitely I've experienced some of those moments where I'm like, just like the pieces connect,
Mm-hmm.
the dots connect, I guess.
Yeah, so again, I'm going to say it again. I'll tell you once again, keep that creative mind flow going. Keep that mindset together, and do not let anyone, tell you otherwise. If you get a negative comment on Instagram, be like, yeah, but that's probably written from whoever wrote its mom's basement, and they're probably, eating Cheetos while watching, I don't know, SpongeBob. Yeah, I'm going to keep doing my thing, and we're going to roll with it.
No, I completely agree. And I'm not, I've gotten hate on Instagram before. I think anyone who's doing anything with their life will probably get hate at some point. And there's definitely no reason to let any of that deter you, because you have to keep trying until you succeed.
No, that's actually a good question that just came up in my mind with this, because I always want to not only put this out there for a lot of music fans, but also, especially with a lot of the artists I bring on, especially the bigger ones, inspire younger artists to be able to work through some of these issues that they end up going through, and know how to do it and have the confidence to do it. So when it comes to you specifically, when it comes to getting potential negative comments or hate comments on social media, in your perspective, how do you kind of filter that out of your brain and not let it affect you, and allow you to continue to making the music that you want to make going forward?
Yeah, no, I'm glad we're talking about this. I think a big part of my mission and my journey has always been, I think about the kid that I was, the kid that would go to the concerts, and a lot of concerts saved my life, and the artists I got to meet that were so kind to me, and now I'm in that position as well. And that's just a dream come true. And I know that's a lot of people's dreams. So I think a lot about that and how I want to help those kids and help those people who are feeling like, you know, just whether they're having a hard time with, people in their lives or Instagram comments, whatever, you just have to understand the point of view from the person leaving that comment. Like you said, they're probably angry about something else, or maybe they've had a very hard time in their lives. It's definitely, I guess, empathy. But yeah, I mean, when you're doing something right, you're usually going to get hate, because my thing is like, I kind of feed off of it, like in a way. Like I love a good hate comment just because it's like, I'm doing things that I want to do, knowing that they're going to get a reaction, because I don't want, at the end of the day, if you're going to release music, you don't want it to be boring. You need a reaction. And a lot of people, they're either going to have a very strong reaction or a very negative reaction. If it's no reaction at all, that's when you want to reevaluate, If you're only getting negative, I guess, but at the same time, as long as you're happy, it doesn't really matter. But yeah, I tend to be a little bit of a troll. I like to have fun. So, occasionally I will like make a video responding, just like I never take it seriously. It's never a serious response, but like I'll gather my favorite hate comments and like make a compilation video or something. Just just I don't let it get to me, but yeah.
I totally get that. I love that response from it too. And it's something that I know people hear and be like, oh, you can't let it get to you, but it's definitely harder to actually put that in perspective when you see those comments right in front of you. I've gotten them myself as well from the podcast. And I think one thing you said that really stands out, I think a lot of people could really take as an actionable item for that, is when you get those comments, not only thinking about the perspective of the person that's saying it, so it doesn't sting nearly as much. Again, if you're getting negative comments all the time and they're actually constructive negative comments, maybe take that with more of a consideration. But if you're getting positive and the negative comments are like, oh, this song's trash, this song's ass, you can always respond and be like, well, why do you think that? And if they respond with, it just sucks, it's like, okay, now you know that person was just putting it out there, saying it just to say something hateful. However, this is one thing I think you said that definitely helped you out when you said you thought about all the concerts you went to as a kid, the amount of people that you ended up meeting through music, and the positive reaction it had on you to them, just all that positivity that got you to where you are today. When I think about it, I always look back at like, who I was at 15. I'm like, if 15-year-old me saw who I am now, would 15-year-old me be proud? Would 15-year-old me be happy and be like, that's the coolest thing in the world?
Mm-hmm.
Now, I think about it, and I hope to God this year, at least I get a chance to interview Rise Against, because then 15-year-old me would be like, you are a god.
Yeah.
So I totally would
Rise
get the win
Against.
on that. But it's something where, taking a look back, I'd say, 15-year-old me would probably be like, you're doing something you absolutely love, and you're continuing to do it, and you're not stopping even with roadblocks in front of you, and you're not going to let people that have those negative comments stop you from doing what you love. You're the coolest person in the world. If you can look to yourself and think that, 15-year-old you or 14-year-old, whatever age, would be proud of the person you are now, always think about that when a hate comment comes in, because that will definitely take any kind of sting out of it right away.
Yeah, and we have to think about the type of mindset you have to be in to just sit on social media and leave like horrific comments, Especially like you said, like some things can be constructive, and you kind of have to learn to sort out what to take in and what to throw away. There are times where I have gotten like helpful feedback or whatever, or like if I forget maybe something glitched or whatever, those are helpful comments. But yeah, so just got to sort through it. And I am manifesting that you're going to interview Rise Against, so.
I'm certainly hoping so, because it looks like the day we're recording this interview, like the next day, it looks like they're announcing something, whether it's a new album, a new single, or something. And I'm like dead set, like when it happens, when it rolls, I am putting everything out there. I'm putting all the chance I can out there. Like, I gotta get this interview, because I will probably get on that interview and like I'll try and do my original intro, like my full on thing, but it might just be stuck there like, I'm just shell shocked right now.
No, yeah. When I met the members of Chord, and I was literally, I was the same way. I was like, okay, I need to try not to like freak out right now. Like, deep breaths. And I feel like they're like, it's okay.
You just got to get through that and just like go through the whole entire thing. Like, okay, just, be perfect, be cool, just be who you are. Just be yourself, basically. Not be perfect and cool, just be who you are. And at the end of the meeting, or especially meeting, I can just be like, holy shit!
Yeah, exactly.
I can't breathe. Someone get me a baggie.
Yes. Keep a paper bag around for sure.
I might have to, or just like a little trash can next to me. It's like, I am too anxious right now. I'm just gonna puke. You good? Yeah, we're good. Let's do this.
No, it's gonna happen, and it's gonna be exciting.
I certainly hope so. And now I kind of want to talk about the future when it comes to Sorry X with you, because I know you brought up the fact that you're working through a lot of ideas right now when it comes to going forward for the rest of the year, new music tours. So can you give us a little bit more of an insight on what you're exactly working on and what we can fully expect? Because I want to hear more about what's going to be coming from you in the future.
Yeah. So I'll give a little bit of spoilers. Hopefully my label isn't upset. I think they'll be okay with it. I have been working on my debut album. It's been like 2 years in the making. I actually had already started working on it before I signed with the label I'm on. So it's been a long process. We've re-recorded some songs, we've rewritten songs, and we're getting closer to being done. So we're gonna start rolling out singles this year. I'm hoping the album's gonna be out soonish. I don't have a date or anything yet, but that's like we're building up to that final moment, right? And it's my debut album, so I really, really want to. I feel like I've learned so much that everything just feels right now, like with my artistry, and I feel like I have a very strong vision for the rollout plan and the campaign I want to do, and I'm really excited I'm creating a world that I really want to. I'm so excited to share that world with the listener and supporters of my music. So yeah, we're gonna be doing lots of visuals, some collaborations, and we're going to be staying very busy. I'm excited. I'm possibly going out to New York in a few weeks. So
maybe by the time this episode rolls out, I'll be like, alrighty, where am I when this episode comes? I'm in New York doing music stuff, and this interview came out a couple weeks ago. I said I was going to be out in New York doing stuff. So look at that. Predicting the future.
You might see that soon. So
I really hope so. And hearing that you're working on your debut album right now, again, you didn't spoil anything. You just said that you're working on it and expecting to come out soon-ish, so you didn't give a date. So I don't think the label can be necessarily mad at you. All we know is that we're getting a debut album from Sorry X. We're getting a lot of original music from you, and we don't necessarily know what to fully expect on it. Again, because we know you're going with more of that hard rock sound, more of a rock-focused, eccentric feel, but you have so many different backgrounds and so many different ideas in other aspects of music. Again, you play the saxophone. I don't even know if that's going to come in there at some song at some point. I hope it does, because that would be absolutely awesome. And when it comes to features, who knows what's going to end up happening? You end up working with Woe Is Me. I've seen other features on, especially you go through your discography right now on Spotify and all the songs. There's plenty of features right there. So who knows who else is going to be appearing on this debut album alongside you? All we know is there's got to be something, and we just got to wait and anticipate.
Yeah. I will say every song on the album I have put so much into. They're definitely, how do I say it? I guess I take inspiration from Sleep Token and Bad Omens, and how like their songs are so intricate and they take so long because there's at any given moment there's like so much going on, but it doesn't sound that way. But yeah, it definitely, each song takes you on a journey. They're all a little bit different. I think that a lot of people are gonna like most of them, but there are people who are gonna like love a certain one. So I definitely also will have some orchestral vibes. So cello, violin, maybe a saxophone, who knows?
Oh, bring that cello and violin, and it adds so much more of that, I'd say theatrical, but also more of that cinematic vibe to it. Like it's a John Williams type soundtrack to a song that just is adding more of this, oh my God, to it.
Yeah, and it totally does. And I've always kind of felt like my songs had that cinematic feeling to them. So I'm definitely ramping that up.
Oh boy, I can't believe I actually evoked John Williams' name in an episode. I've never done that before. We're talking about music and being cinematic, but somehow, some way, Alexa, you ended up pulling it out. So congratulations.
Good. I'll take it.
I'll say, is there, because I know you're working with, on music, you're working with a lot of people. You already said collaboration is a very important thing. And I know you said you're going to have some features on this. I'd feel like if I asked like which features are on here, that would definitely be spoiling it, and definitely something that maybe the label would frown upon, or also something you want to keep secret. So let's not ask that question, but let's ask this question. I know you always you'll get a lot of features on music too, and it also helps amplify the sound you're trying to create. When it comes to features, are there, let's go with 3. Can you name me 3 people or 3 artists that you would love to have feature on a song with you?
Yeah, I do think Jonathan Davis from Chord would be epic. If we're talking about like dream features, Ash Nico would make a lot of sense because my cover of her song did really well, and I really love her artistry. Who else? I don't know. Maybe like a Bad Omens, Sorry X crossover. That could be really, really cool. Spirit Box. I'm naming 4 now. But yeah, I will say for my collaborations currently, I'm trying to we're gonna keep them limited just because I really want to showcase my sound and what I've been working on for so long. But I do want every feature to be super intentional, and I kind of want to go for like Woe Is Me is something like they're so awesome, and they remind me kind of like the Warped Tour days and like the OGs, and I have so much respect for them. And so I kind of want to also reach into like more of the current metalcore scene, and then also like the classic new metal scene. So we're trying to like hit all angles of what I've loved, I guess.
Trying to hit all angles. So it's like, okay, are we going to get a feature from, Noah Sebastian at some point? Are we going to get a feature from Courtney LaPlante at some point? Go back to the Warped Tour days. I know you already got What Was Me, but are we going to get something from like Devil Wears Prada? Or we can get something from, let me try and see one of it. Yeah. We Came as Romans. I should have just looked right at the camera.
I saw your flex. I love it.
Yeah, I'm like, you know what? I got to pull this off and just have some of it.
Yes.
Or, go back to more than classic new metal days. Who knows? Maybe you end up getting a feature from Fred Durst, Olympus, maybe Chad Gray from Mudvayne. I'm just throwing out a couple of names here, but there's plenty of potential here. But I love also what you said too. It's like you don't want to just have features on every single song. You want to make sure they're intentional, but on the brand new debut album, debut LP, you want to make sure that your vocals stand out because it is your debut. It is like the This Is Me type album, especially trying to get it out there after a number of years of making music, continually working on things, and creating the artist that you are today, showing everybody that this is who Sorry X is, this is who you are now, and this is where this sound can go so much further in the future.
Yes. Yep. You captured it exactly.
And also, like, the fact that when I asked you for, like, 3 examples, you gave me 4, and because, I ask questions like that, and people break the rules all the time. I'm like, it's a podcast. I'm not going to, make strict rules on this. Jeez.
Yeah, so I'm glad you're not making too many strict rules for me, so.
Well, then, yeah, I know you also brought up, too, earlier that you're looking to go down the road, get out and tour, and get more people in your music, get to know you as well. There are touring plans for 2025, correct? I know you're not probably able to say who with or where they're going, but that's something that's being worked on, I assume.
It is being worked on, and I'm feeling very confident about my team and what we're able to accomplish. So there are touring plans. They're vague, but it is absolutely happening. And then I'm sure it's kind of the thing where it's like, uh, you know, you just get a little taste, and then all of a sudden I'm touring everywhere all the time. So.
Hey, wait, that's ever the worst thing. I mean, as like, what band was it last year for 2024? It was like Currents. It was like, I got to see Currents like 3 or 4 times because I'm like, every tour I wanted to go to, they were just there. And I'm like, I'm not complaining. This is great. But it's just one of those things where it's like, oh, wait, they're touring again. Well, it's better than having them not tour for, one number of years and you constantly asking, when are you guys going to tour? Like, the more the merrier.
Yeah, no, touring has been a goal of mine for a long time. I love performing, like I said, and so it's a dream of mine. I always have so much fun. I've gone on like smaller runs, and so my team from day one has known that is so important to me. That's a priority. We've been working really hard on it, so I'm so excited. I'm gonna really just enjoy every show, every moment. But yeah, I definitely will not shy away from touring opportunities.
Well, now let me ask you this, because it's going to go in 2 different directions with this question, and it's going to be around touring too, of course, that's what we're talking about. First thing is, of course, every artist has an artist or has a band in mind that they always wanted to tour with that would be like the dream tour for them. So I want to know that from you, but I also want to know that might not be realistic at this point in time right now. But if we were to put it in a very realistic context, who is that band or artist that you would also like to tour with that, very plausibly could happen in 2025? So I'm looking for like your all-time I want to tour with this artist, and who's the artist I want to tour with right now that actually could possibly happen?
Oh, that's a great question. I'm gonna say Spirit Box and Evanescence for future stuff. Girl Power, I think it would be really awesome. It makes sense. Even like Limp Bizkit would be really cool too. I love their show, so I'm gonna throw that out there. Current bands. There are a lot of current bands that I love. I'm like, what's I don't know. I feel like even being on like Warp Tours soon. I love they're bringing back Warp Tour, so I love that. The When We Were Young Fest is super cool. So those are things that I would love to do. I don't know. I mean, like I'm saying Bad Omens, but they're on the Spirit Box level. So, but I think Bad Omens would make a lot of sense. I'm kind of like shooting for the stars, but I even think of What Was Me Tour would be really cool. I think there's a lot of bands that I would kind of make sense to be on a lineup with. So.
Because I know, especially you talk like Bad Omen, Spirit Box, Limp Bizkit, Evanescence. Those are bands that are not only like headlining major venues, but those are bands that are definitely going to be at the headlining spots at festivals as well. I've already seen Bad Omens have a headliner spot at a festival. I think I think they're probably gonna get more spots too upcoming as well. It's just gonna keep happening. Limp Bizkit's had those spots. I know Spirit Box is getting up there as well. But, talking about like the Warp Tour days and the Warp Tour bands, like going out with Woe Is Me definitely could definitely make a lot of sense. Plus, if you would go and tour with Woe Is Me, the likelihood that if you came around me, that I would definitely be in the crowd throwing it down to I Told You Once, just having a blast by Woe Is Me. Oh, that's a guarantee at this point. So it makes a lot of sense. But I also, again, like the fact that you're shooting for the stars on this. You have, again, it's like, okay, if I had to go realistic, I could, but I just want to shoot for the stars at that point, because if you don't, then you're just limiting the potential ceiling that you have for yourself.
Yeah, and that's one thing about me is like I'm never gonna set a cap for my limits or where I can go, and I think that's a huge part of my growth, So I'm really determined, but I'm sure there's gonna be plenty of really cool tours, and I'm super excited.
Well, we're going to be excited to see you go out there, play live, and to hear the new music that you've been working on when it's ready to come out, because why follow the deadlines when you want to make sure that the music is going to be the way that you want it to be? If you follow those rush deadlines, then it's like, okay, we got to get done at this point in time. deadlines hinder creativity. Keep that creativity flowing. We want to see you keep doing well. We want to see you grow to the point where, next time Spirit Box goes on a major tour, we end up seeing Sorry X on the bill as well.
Yeah, totally. I love Spirit Box. Shout out, Courtney.
Alrighty, I got one other question for you, Alexa, before we wrap this up, and it is one that I have thoroughly enjoyed asking every single artist I've brought to the podcast for over a year and a half now. It is a question we love to ask for us to get to know, as fans, more of the great music that's out there, but for you as an artist and a music lover, to show us more of the great music that you love. So I'm going to ask you for 3 of these. Again, 3, loosely, but can you name me 3 bands or artists that you love that you would love to see more people get into right now?
Ooh, that is a good one. I'm gonna shout out Nerve from SBG Records, and Red Star. I'm gonna shout out SBG Records in general because I think they have a really great lineup. I think they're growing so much, and I love my team, so I have a lot of pride in that. I believe it's 0936 I heard recently, and I was like, this is really, really cool. Um, yeah, no, there's a lot of bands killing it right now. So, the Funeral Portrait. I'll shout out the Funeral Portrait as well.
So you gave me 4 again instead of 3, but that seems like just
I just love to share the love.
Share the love, but I mean, take a look at that. Nerve's been a band that it seems like there's a lot of tours, especially last year, where it was like, okay, Nerve's on the bill, so they're there. Bringing up once again, Red Star. Red Star's been on the podcast twice before, so when I heard that, I was just like, oh, because I remember when they were just like really, really small, when they were independent, just getting going. That's when I started bringing them on. I was like, this is perfect. This is great.
Oh, cool.
Seeing Zero get back on a label once again and seeing Zero have that creativity and that absolute freedom to flow and seeing the growth of his music over time has been fantastic. And then the Funeral Portrait. Tried bringing him on last year right around that time when they were doing that 5 Finger Death Punch tour when people were kind of giving them shit for it. I'm just like, no, I can't give them shit for it. Like, it's their music. They're going to go out and make the best decision for themselves. Plus, their message is going out to people that wouldn't normally end up hearing it or want to give it the time of day. Like, it's happening. Why wouldn't you want to see something like that? And now the Funeral Portrait is continuing to grow. Of course, there's still a definite long way to go for them to get to that point of absolute superstardom. But the seeds are there for that continue to happen.
Yeah, no, I definitely love their vision, and Lee Jennings is really awesome. So shout out.
Yeah, I was not expecting, the homies kiss each other goodnight on stage the first time I saw them. But I was just like, hey, they're taking that full force in. They're not letting anyone forget it.
Yeah, gotta be homies.
Gotta be homies. And it's a great way to, not only close out a show and see that, but it's just like, they're the only ones that do it. It's fucking awesome.
Yeah. That's hilarious.
Well, Alexa, I want to thank you for taking the time today for joining us on the Chord Progression Podcast. I'm going to end up closing out this podcast with 3 very specific things. So first things first, everybody that's listening right now, viewing on YouTube, especially if you got to see good old Romeo the Cat coming around, having a great time, be sure to go and follow along with Sorry X on everything she's got going on. So you're going to want to follow her on, all social media sites. You're going to want to stay in the know of when new music is coming out, when tours are going to be happening, and listen to all the music that she has out right now. So instead of going and searching up all that stuff yourself, just go down the description of the podcast where it says Find Sorry X Online. Links and labels for everything are going to be down there. You don't have to go searching. I got it all covered for you. All you have to do is click and go to that social media site, go to Spotify, Apple Music, go and check out the website, go and check out all that stuff. It's all down there for you. I'm doing all the hard work, so don't let me down with 1 or 2 clicks. Come on, everybody. You got this. And now it is time for number 2, Alexa. Whenever I have guests on the podcast, I enjoy the podcast, I always tend to make a certain promise that says, thank you, I appreciate you taking the time for joining the podcast, and I wish to continue to support you in your endeavors in the future. And my promise always starts out with when. When implies this is going to happen. We just don't have a day or time yet because, this could very well be in the future. But this is my promise to you. It is when I get to see you perform live for the first time because, well, I know the tour dates are coming at some point. We just don't know which date, which time, which city, whatever it is. But when that happens, I will be at the show. I will come and find you. I will come and say hello to you. But the actual promise is first round's on me.
Oh, that's really sweet. And you know what? I'm going to give you some free merch. So
Free merch with it? Oh, dear Lord. Then we're going to be wearing on the podcast the whole entire time and say Sorry X. Everyone's going to be wondering who's that band that Kevin's wearing the shirt of. It's like, oh, yeah, it's Sorry X. You don't know him? Well, go see him live and then go to the interview we did.
Yep, exactly.
It's going to be
really
perfect. Sweet. Just like free promotion, baby. Yeah.
Yep. I'll get you the hookup for sure.
Perfect. Thank you. And now it's time for number 3, Alexa. As we bring this podcast to conclusion, I cannot end this by saying goodbye. That is way too final because I made you a promise and I want to keep that promise. So I got to make sure I see then. Beyond that, though, I would love to be back on the podcast again in the future, like when that debut album's going to come out so we can talk all about it and get more people in the know with it. So can this be goodbye? Nah. This is going to be, I'll see you later.
Thank you so much for having me and for everyone listening, and I will definitely see you later.
Yes. Woo! I'll focus my interview with Sorry X, and now it's time for Kevin's final thought. I've been doing this for 6 years now. That's quite a long time. And looking back at it, this is still one of the reasons why I love doing this and one of the reasons why I will still continue to bring on those younger artists that you might not know who they are to the podcast. This is why. Look at all the great things that Alexa had to say about herself. Like when it came to the music that she creates, when it came to her backstory, when it came to how to handle those negative comments as an artist. There is so much to be had here that you can really dive deep into and discover the creativities behind her music and understand that there is so much more here than maybe what meets the eye. You don't know about some of these bands unless you have a chance to go out and discover them. Spotify is a great tool for discovery because any artist can get out there, but how do you discover them? TikTok has been a great tool as well. Social media has been a great tool overall, but how do you get through the noise? And sometimes an artist just needs that one piece or that one break, and you never know when it's going to come. And I hope the Chord Progression Podcast is being a catalyst for that. So, and I've always hoped that. So that's why we don't stop bringing on younger artists, because what happens at that point in time comes where, we're a huge podcast, like everybody's always listening to us. Everybody's always checking out what bands we're talking to or talking about. And I can still be that, catalyst for a younger artist to get more well-known. I still want to make that happen, and that's why we're here today still doing stuff like this. I want to thank Lex for coming on the podcast when it comes to finding out about Sorry X, knowing when they're going to be touring, knowing when that debut album's going to come out, and when singles are going to be dropping. Go script to the podcast below, links, labels for all social media, where you can stream music, download, buy it, where you can find Sorry X on tour when they announce it is going to be down there, so go and check it out. Please also subscribe to the Chord Progression Podcast right down here on YouTube. Hit the subscribe button, Spotify, and Apple Podcasts. Well, hit the like button in the episodes to help push in the algorithm. We are also on Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram, so go check us out there. Thank you, everybody. Thank you, Alexa. And that's me for everybody. Thank you for listening to the Chord Progression Podcast. My name is Kevin, and you guys know how I end every single one of those buildings. With a big, healthy, and hearty, see ya!